Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Erekose. How's it going with you over there on Crunch Island?
I don't know. I wouldn't know. Crunch Island's where you are. Obviously, it's right behind you.
Yeah, well, where is it? Where is this? This is just off the shore of California, so Anyway, how's it going?
You're in Scotland, dude. You're delusional.
Exactly. Yes. No, but seriously, I see you've got your nice tie on. You trying to impress?
That's because I've been busy today. I mean,
tell us about it. Tell us about it.
I've been hinting at it, folks, the last couple of days.
Yeah.
So today I interviewed somebody who, I'm still going to kind of keep it close to the vest till tomorrow. Somebody who is a very big name in the innocence world. Okay, sure. Somebody who's a very, very big name. And I went ahead and interviewed this person, and many of you are probably going to guess who it is if you've been watching me for the last couple weeks since Mamathon. But anyway, and after that, I have another chat. It's going to be all part of the same video. The second part is going to be me and Steve Moore, retired FBI agent Steve Moore, chatting about the case of the person that I will be speaking with in the beginning of the video. It's going to be phenomenal, folks. I had an outstanding conversation with this individual. I think that this person is just a really, really cool person. I wasn't sure what to expect when I finally got the call this morning. And I know I'm teasing y'all, I'm not giving you any information, but look, you're gonna love this tomorrow. And I will also tell you that this particular person, who's a pretty big wheel in the innocence world, is very passionate for Brendan. So,
excellent. So let's highlight Crunch Island for a moment. That is really good news that things are coming together as you would want them to. I'm sure we're looking forward to tomorrow. So, first of all, a question for you to do with the state's response.
Yeah.
Have you ever come across a situation when so many people, intelligent people, have wasted so much time reading so much bullshit as the state's response?
That's funny. Probably not, because prior to making a murder, there probably wasn't this many people reading anybody's court transcripts. But maybe I'm wrong. There might have been a few cases out there that maybe got this level of attention. But yeah, no, I get where you're drifting with that, and that's a fair point.
I mean, look, I've read it again, and it's just, and I listened to Dr. Silkman talking about Item FL, and it's just ridiculous. And then it suddenly struck me. It was like Roll Griffin, Judge Flowers, ADA.
Yeah.
Lisa Comfer. Is it Lisa Comfer? Is that another name for Ken Kratz?
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously now. I mean, we haven't heard much from Ken Kratz. So is that what he was busy doing? Helping. I'll put it this way, right? Right. If you installed an electrical system somewhere, and it all went faulty, and somebody else was the guy that installed it, would you not say to him, "You installed it. You come and sort out where you put this, that, and the other"? Would you not do that?
You would ideally, yeah. You would want the person who knew about it and hooked it all up so that they would more quickly be able to find the problem. Ideally, yes.
Yeah.
But you don't always. Sometimes you don't have that option, and you gotta just kind of go through it like a needle in a haystack. So
I do like that time. Where the dickens did you get that from?
This is the one you sent me, dude.
Was that
the Pink Panther
comedy store?
Pink Panther, man.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
So
okay, wee brother. Okay. So anyway, talking about have so many intelligent people wasted so much time reading so much bullshit. Probably not. Next question. Sorry, I didn't mean to sort of leave you by yourself and feel that you had no company. Another question. What's the Change is this petition website where you go and you click on that, petition for this petition. What's the most petitioned change sort of incident ever? What's the one that's had the most? Over 5 million people have clicked on the change petition to have somebody arrested.
Oh, well, I don't know. I haven't been following it.
Obviously, just yesterday he got arrested. The policeman, Chauvin.
Oh, right, Chauvin. Right. Okay. Yeah.
That murdered Floyd George.
Right.
And it's caused no end of problems. No end of I mean, they even had the Amish community came out in support of Floyd George, and I mean, they generally speaking, I correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't have much access to social media and stuff like that.
No, I wouldn't think so. Well, but maybe they're starting to put their toe in the water, but
yeah. I couldn't believe it that it is the most click on this petition, 5 million people, and it's gone all around the world. I mean, we've had it on the news here as well.
Yeah,
it just struck me as being so ridiculous. And of course, have you seen the fact that it wasn't just the one police officer on his neck?
Right.
There was another two kneeling on
right.
him.
I said that in my video. I mean, like, if he was able to get a small opening in his airway, he was probably having trouble expanding his chest and his diaphragm to pull in the air in. I mean, I don't know what those guys were thinking with what they were doing there. I mean, especially when there's now video showing like that this guy wasn't resisting. He wasn't. I mean, there's no credible evidence of any kind of resistance. The cops are not wanting to release the body cam footage. I mean, it looks like you're covering something up, or trying to, damage control. That's what it looks like. I mean, and if you're damage controlling, then you're not looking the best in this, and that's why you're holding back the body cam footage. You know what I mean? To me, that's the
What do you think the body cam footage would reveal? Would it reveal what
it might. Well, I mean, if they're claiming that Mr. Floyd was resisting, then their body cam footage would show that. You see?
I can't not thinking it.
So the fact that they're not releasing the body cam footage leads me to believe I'm right. He wasn't resisting. Their body cam footage will not show that, and that's why they don't want to release it. That's personally my opinion. What might be going on here?
Yeah, I can't help thinking there's also because you get the audio as well, don't you? You get what's being said at the time,
right? So
I can't help thinking that'll be a big. And anyway, it is very thirsty here on Crunch Island. So cheers, dude.
Yeah, cheers.
I've got some of your nice. What's the latest one you've got in your studio there? Is it the Macallan?
That's not what you're drinking.
Yeah, some Macallan.
That one right there, folks.
That is good stuff.
This was an $80 bottle.
That's a lot. That is a lot of overtime. That is a lot of
good stuff, though.
But seriously, you have to at least 1 cube of ice just to really get the flavor out of it.
Yeah. I'm aware. Best way to drink single malt. Yep.
Mm. Well, at least a little bit of H2O just to help you. I mean, it was absolutely sickening to watch. It's like the guy was on Floyd. Is it Floyd George or George Floyd?
I think I think it's George Floyd.
George Floyd. Sorry, I've got it the wrong way, man. You know, he was there for about 7 minutes, and it's like, well, what was he trying to do?
Yeah,
I just don't get what he was trying to do.
Well, I don't know how much truth there is, but I had somebody on my video yesterday saying that there's actually a link between George and that officer Chauvin, where they actually both, I guess, work somewhere as security. Somewhere it's the same place where they work as security, and there maybe could be some potential rivalry there. So this is going to get real sticky for Chauvin. This is probably not going to be pretty for him.
And there's also a case that I read that there were. It's not the first time that he's been involved in accusations of, if you like, police brutality. I believe there's been 18 cases. 18 when he's been.
Yeah, there's all kinds of reports about him, all kinds of complaints. And that go back a long time. Things that have been covered up and sealed. That I mean, it's just it's disturbing. This guy, there was indicators that this guy was probably a problem, and that's something that Minneapolis is going to have to deal with.
Well, I
want to also say though that I don't approve of all the people going out there and looting and destroying communities. I want to say that although I have every bit of sympathy for what happened to George Floyd, I'm not on board with the looting and destroying. That is muddying the water of the justice we need to happen here. That is muddying the water. And I'm just going to say that right now, that stuff is inappropriate.
I mean, in actual fact, I doubt whether George Floyd would want that as being part of his sort of testimony, you know, his sort of, you know, heritage.
Did Minneapolis burned down? Right.
Yeah. You know, he would not have wanted that. I'm pretty sure that. What I struggle. I sent you some stuff. I don't know if you managed to look at it.
Oh no, I've been
okay. So let me just fill you in. Way back in, I think it was 1792, there was a trial of a John Kember. Now, what happened was I was busy working on some music, and I typed in the wrong name. I was looking for John Kimber, a musician, and I brought up this thing about John Kember, somebody who was accused and was. The trial went to the Old Bailey. This was in the days when they were trying to abolish the slave trade, and this was a case that was so prominent that. They actually Horatio Nelson went to the Old Bailey to attend the trial of this Captain John Kember, and I'm not going to go into the gory details. If you want to find out about it, then find out. But basically, a girl on a slave ship that was traveling from West Africa across to the West Indies died. And this was all part of the sort of build up to trying to get rid of slavery, you know.
Right.
I mean, you know, we in the I think most of us in the UK are pretty much embarrassed about the way that people from Africa were just rounded up and sold as slaves to the West Indies and to, you know, particularly the southern states of America. I mean, how do you feel about the sort of racial divide? Is it something you come across? I mean, I can honestly say I've never come across any kind of racial divide here in sort of suburbia land that I live in.
You don't generally tend to run into it in the city because the cities are, you know, the population centers are melting pots.
Yeah.
You just generally don't tend to see it as much. It happens. It exists, but it's just being in a population center, it's highly discouraged, and people just kind of tend not to display their ignorance that way for whatever reason in population centers. But when you get out into the rural areas, yes, you start to see that that racism is alive and well. It's you know, it's there. It's, you know, so
and is it and I honestly I don't know. Is it a case of sometimes people from a certain background, because they're underprivileged, they're regarded as being more likely to commit crime, and they are more likely to mug you, and you know, a little bit like going back to the you know, the subway vigilante case, you know, of what was it, like Bernard Getz, was that his name? You know, the
right.
guy that shot the guys. I mean, is that really the case? I mean, every time I've come across somebody from any kind of different, you know, that has a different skin color, I don't look at them as being, you know, well, I don't want anything to do with it. I want to find out more about, you know, their sort of, you know, interests and, you know, and what, you know, find out a bit more about them. Do some people in America look upon these people as, you know, they are simply ex-slaves and therefore they have to be downtrodden?
No, it's not like that at all. No.
Right. Okay.
It has nothing to do with slavery. It's at this point, if there is racial tension, it's generally just because of, you know, cultural differences, really. And those differences happen for a variety of different reasons, political, socioeconomic reasons, and various reasons that these, you know, that we all start throwing up divides and start sectioning ourselves off into, you know, certain, you know, groups, you know, essentially. And that's kind of what happens. And so what happens is that when those cultural differences clash, that's when you get things like this that happen. And it's not going back to slavery. It's back to, I mean, and this doesn't just happen along racial lines, dude. I mean, you'll see this happen to virtually anybody.
Oh yeah.
But you know, I mean, it's the cops. The cops get an idea in their head, and they can't let it go, and then they end up going too far. You know, it's unfortunate, but
yeah. I know that we here in the UK a few years back, 20, 30 years back, we had huge problem with hooliganism at football matches. You know, to the extent whereby even the guy Bates, the chairman of Chelsea, wanted to electrify the fence that kept everybody, you know, in their sort of sections of the ground, you know, yeah, in the stands, yeah, you know, Ken Bates, that was his name, yeah, and he you know, he was serious about electrifying the fence, you know, and as people pointed out, you know, it's not a football problem at the time. It wasn't a problem with football hooliganism. It was a fact that you would have people from different parts of the same housing estate that would happily fight against one another just because they belong to different gangs and stuff like that, you know. But
yeah,
it just beggars belief that
it's like I say, that's what it's about nowadays. It's about newer rivalries. Not I mean, slavery is kind of long gone. It's about newer types of rivalries. So
yeah, I mean, going back to that Amy Cooper, you know the girl that was jogging through Central Park, and she came across that. Well, her dog was off the leash, and this guy, his name was Cooper as well. What was his name? Christian Cooper, and he was bird watching,
right?
And he said to the girl, you know, can you put your dog on the lead? And so she, you know, she was kicking off and saying, "Oh, my life is being threatened. Me and my dog are being threatened by this guy." You know, you know the case I mean, don't you?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen the video of her. Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean,
yeah. Some people out there are looking to use things that are going on. I mean, in our society, she's obviously there trying to manipulate certain people who are, I guess, maybe of a similar mind to her, or just because there's an African American gentleman sitting on the bench in the park that he automatically means harm to her. There's other people like her, and she's appealing to those people with that kind of theatrics. You know what I mean? But that's what's happening in this world. As much as I support, the hashtag Me Too movement, there are women out there who abuse it, who use it incorrectly. Not all the time, not every time, but it happens. And so whenever there's something like this where activism is getting involved and that sort of thing, I think it's important that everybody remembers that they have integrity and credibility, because you don't want to be using these things that have these tools that have kind of come into play. You don't want to use them for your own frivolous gain, because you will diminish these tools like hashtag Me Too or other things that are meant to do good things. But if they're used improperly, you can kiss it goodbye.
Yeah, I think that our lovely Amy Cooper, it wasn't the first time that she'd also apparently taken out a civil suit that was then dropped against a former boyfriend who was married, and she paid for. She accused the guy of stealing her or defrauding her $65,000 or something. So clearly this woman has issues, shall we say, which was very strange.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, those two, certainly the George Floyd and the Amy Cooper cases, were catching a lot of attention. And what I'm going to ask you is, can you remember Walter Barton?
Yes, I can remember Walter Barton.
Do you think that Governor, is it Mike Parsons?
Parsons,
yeah, is absolutely delighted that the focus of attention has so quickly shifted from Walter Barton
to this
all this other stuff that's going on,
to what's going on with George Floyd? Yeah, I bet he is. I haven't forgotten about you, Parsons. I got you in my sights.
Yep.
I've got feelers out with Trisha Bushnell, and I'm going to be trying to get up on Walter's case, and I'm going to try and pretty much expose all of the proof of innocence that exists there with Walter. So he hasn't escaped my sights, but he's got a brief reprieve for the moment.
Well, I mean, as I say, even the Innocence Project, they were straight in on the George Floyd case.
Right.
The fact that basically he should still be alive. There is no reason why he should be deceased.
Right. Hey, look, even my friend, my cop friend, who I'm friends with, and you guys have heard me talk about before, even he's saying that guy's a freaking asshole. Even he's like, nope, that guy's stupid. This is exactly what he said about the guy. He goes, the guy used a technique that is specifically banned in that department's handbook. Kneeling on somebody's throat like that is specifically banned in the handbook. Right. And so my friend was just going, oh, nope, he screwed himself. He didn't listen to the handbook. And that was enough for him. He was like, he didn't follow the handbook. He's done.
I think I know who you mean, and I think he was somebody that. Did you not say that you actually were at school together?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I know who you are.
And you would have never thought this dude was going to become a cop.
Mm.
He was the freaking biggest troublemaker, one of the biggest troublemakers there were.
Anyway, here in the UK. What's the big talking point? What's the petition that's got over a million people signing the petition in the last couple of days?
In the last couple of days.
Last.
No, you didn't say 5 million, so it's not that. So what is it?
Not the 5 million. Dominic Cummings.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Boris's little right hand over there. Yeah, he's crazy. He's creating quite a ruckus, isn't he?
I mean, what do we make of this? I'm gonna suggest to you, as I did to Eunice, if Boris is coming out and defending the fella, well, first of all, First of all, there was a minister came out and said that it was put to him on TV interview. Well, so in case anybody's unaware of the situation, would you like to fill them in on the situation, or do you want me to?
Sure. All right. So, folks, what we've got is Boris is basically right hand there in Parliament, Westminster, Dominic Cummings, who, he basically, what happened is a few weeks back, him and his wife were sick with COVID-19. And instead of self-isolating like they were supposed to and shelter at home like they were supposed to, they ended up, I think, making 2 trips to their parents' house, which was some great distance away.
Nearly 300 miles away.
Multiple fueling stations along the way as they were sick with COVID-19. So they flouted the current orders and thing, the stay-at-home orders and stuff there in the UK. Now, the reason why this is a problem is because obviously they're trying to get everybody to stay at home, and they want everybody to see that the cabinet ministers are observing it as well. They don't, so that there's no, oh, well, they don't, obviously it doesn't apply to them, so that they don't start getting that. Well, this is exactly what they're getting now, because obviously it doesn't apply to them, because what Dominic Cummings did was wrong. And it looks like he went twice to his parents' house. Should have been sheltering at home, but didn't, went there. And you have to put this also into a frame. You have to frame it, because there's been other officials in the UK recently, folks, who flouted the stay-at-home orders, okay? And they were all canned. There was like no discussion. Boom. Like instantly, okay? They were canned. And now, because Boris is sticking up for Dominic Cummings, he is getting a pass. And so there's some people who are going to agree with it, who like Boris and Dominic Cummings, who are just probably going to agree with it and go along with it. And then there's going to be a lot of people who are not going to agree with it. They aren't going to like the fact that Dominic Cummings is suddenly going to decide he's held to a different standard than everybody else. And that's going to stick in people's craw. So there you go. That's the stage set.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, as I say, there was an interview. I think it was the Sunday or maybe the Monday morning, and there was a minister that came out in defence of Dominic Cummings, and basically pointed out that Boris Johnson had carried out a review and found that no rule had been broken. So the question was: is it a case of one rule for everybody else, but there's a special rule for the ministers? Well, clearly, right, by this minister saying he's broken no rules. Yeah, but, well, whose rules has he not broken? Is it our rules, or is it the ones that you've made specifically for the people that run the country? Right. That was my first take on it. This issue of can we criticize Dominic Cummings for doing what he did? I think yes, it's understandable that anybody would
right now. I mean,
but anybody would want to try and protect themselves. But if you're part of the system that established and told people this is what you need to do, then there's a problem. And here's the big thing, isn't it? This is when it all comes back to, the Stephen Avery case. Once you've been caught in a lie, what do? Do you own up to it, or do you perpetuate that lie?
Right. Well, yeah.
Oh, what tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceive.
Yep, absolutely.
And I can't help thinking that on this one, I'll give it to Sharon Sunshine and the rest of you SNP voters. Look, Boris is going to pay for this big time. At the moment, I'm happy
to let things unfold.
For me, I think that that Nicola Sturgeon is keeping quiet about it. I don't think she said anything because, as she pointed out, this is not the time.
Yeah, independence has not been talked about unless it was Jackson Carlisle. Jackson Karloff, for some reason, has been the one that's been bringing up independence, but it hasn't been talked about by the SMP or anybody connected with the SMP. Oh, unless they were answering Jackson Karloff. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. One moment.
Oh man,
sorry about that. I had my wife coming down the stairs, blethering away.
I have a feeling you're about to get smacked over the head with something.
I probably anyway, I've completely lost my train of thought because
I got to get to some editing. So if you don't have anything else, I definitely got some editing I need to do. So.
Oh no! I haven't even started yet. Well, then we
might have to make a part 2 then. So
okay. Quickly on to my last point.
Okay.
I slightly tongue in cheek. I asked you whether the policeman who knelt on and murdered George Floyd,
right?
If that isn't one of the most obvious examples of murder, what is? Should he face the death penalty?
You asked that question antagonizingly, so well, either way you do. I mean, I know what you mean, but anyway, here's the thing. A lot of us have been clear recently after what happened to Walter Barton. I mean, I made it pretty clear. I used to think the death penalty might be okay. I no longer do because I know our system can't get it right enough to be contemplating taking something they can't give back. Mm. So that's how I feel about it. The system is irresponsible at this point in time to be able to attempt to even wield that kind of power, but they're wielding it anyway. So my official stance is no. Nobody should be going. No, the death penalty should be off the table until we address the stats coming out of the Innocence Projects, and we get our justice a lot tighter.
Okay. So not Mr. Chavez, was it Chavez?
Chauvin? No, I don't believe he needs to. I don't believe he should go to the death penalty.
Okay.
I don't believe anybody should.
Okay. Nobody. So not the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski.
You don't confuse what I'm saying. I mean, if the law, if the law is there and they've been convicted and they, whatever, it is what it is. I'll respect the law, but philosophically speaking, we really have no business wielding that power because we're not getting it right nearly enough. So that's basically where I stand. So essentially, yeah. If you want to ignore if our system wants to ignore the data coming out of the Innocence Projects and stuff, then yeah, I'm full on against the death penalty. No matter how warranted anybody out there might feel it is for any particular person, I still think it's no good because I want the system to address the problems. And so, as far as I'm concerned, the death penalty is just another one of the problems.
Right, it's just. I recently watched a few documentaries, not on Netflix. I must admit the Unabomber one was on Netflix, and it dealt with Ted Kaczynski, and he was somebody that just had this almighty rage against, sort of, shall we say, sort of Western world technology. The way that everything was going. Another one I watched was a couple of programs about lawyers that defended Ted Bundy and Timothy McVeigh. Ted Bundy lawyer was John Henry Brown. I think you're right in agreeing with me that
I'm not. I don't have a whole lot of. I don't have a whole lot of. I'll put it this way: it doesn't trouble my conscience very much that Ted Bundy is gone. If that's what you're getting at. Okay. No, it doesn't trouble. It doesn't trouble my conscience too much that he's out.
Okay. What about Timothy McVeigh?
I know the name. What is it he did?
Well, Oklahoma bombing. AEDPA.
Okay, so that's. And which? Okay, so Kaczynski. What did he do?
He was the Unabomber. He was the one that sent parcels. He was the mail bomber. He sent them to universities and stuff like that.
Well, like I said, I don't know. I mean, all I can tell you is my official stance is I'm against the death penalty, but my conscience is going to prick me too much over people that were mass murderers. I mean, I don't like the death penalty, and I think obviously we're not getting it right nearly enough to be exercising that power. But at the same time, I have no love for mass murderers, so it's probably not going to prick my conscience too much. Mm-hmm. You know,
what struck me, and I'm sorry to put you on sort of on the spot, and I do apologize because I maybe should have given you some prior warning about this. but in the case of Timothy McVeigh, he took sole responsibility for the Oklahoma bombing.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's quite clear that there's no way he could have acted alone. Indeed, there was at least one other person that's been found guilty of conspiring with him, and there could be many others. And what was interesting about the Timothy McVeigh case is the fact that he had two lead attorneys, Stephen Jones, who is, as a defense attorney, actually is pro the death sentence. Mm-hmm. Okay. Whereas you've got this Chris Tritico, who's against it. But what was really interesting was the fact that their appeal with regard to not putting Timothy McVeigh to death was, if we want to bring him back to testify at a later date, once we've done more investigation as to who else is responsible, you can't bring back a dead man, can you?
Right. No, you can't. And that's kind of another one with Ted Bundy too, is that he was by killing him as quickly as they did. I mean, they possibly, took away some instruction for FBI agents, obviously, to get personal experience with somebody like Ted Bundy to, become better profilers. So there is an aspect of that, but ultimately, no. I mean, Bundy was a bad guy. I mean, he did some really bad things, and he's just...
He was, but he was teaching the FBI so much stuff. He was teaching... He was actually, a bit like, not treated in the same way as Henry Lee Lucas, who also taught the Texas Rangers quite a bit.
Right.
But, even if somebody has committed the most horrendous crimes, surely you need to keep them alive, so that even from a practical point of view, forget the moral point of view. I mean, the fact is that John Henry Brown was the attorney for Ted Bundy, and right on at the very beginning of the documentary I watched on that, as he pointed out, and as I've pointed out, the Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill." So if you kill somebody, what are we going to do with you? We're going to kill you?
Yeah, right.
It doesn't make sense.
It's kind of an oxymoron, right? Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. It's like, I mean, okay, let's just expand this out just for a couple of minutes, and I'll let you get back to your editing because I'm gonna call it a day. And dude, I really do appreciate you coming on and at such short notice and chatting.
I just had to fit you in. It's tough. It's busy today.
Hey, it's tough at the top, eh? It's tough at the top. but no, I mean, does it work as a deterrent? Do you think that by executing people, it's actually made any difference as far as a deterrent?
I honestly don't think it does. Because I don't think when people commit crimes, I don't think they're thinking about the immediate consequences. I don't think they're even thinking about the fact that the cops could be coming to get them and take them to jail until after. You see? Nobody ever thinks about that in the moment. Well, mostly nobody ever thinks of those things in the moment. Usually, if you are pushed to the point of committing an act like murder or some other violent act, you have been pushed to that point, and you're furious, and so you're not going to be thinking rationally and clearly, generally. So yeah, I don't even think that prison time is a deterrent or whatever in the moment, because people sure as hell aren't thinking about the consequences most of the times when they're in the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the other interesting thing that in the case of Timothy McVeigh, was it Timothy McVeigh or was it Ted Kaczynski? I can't remember. It was definitely one of them. No, I think it was Timothy McVeigh. He said, "Look, I'm quite happy to plead guilty," and the lawyer said, "Well, yeah, but you can't because the state want to execute you. Therefore, there has to be a trial. You cannot simply plead guilty."
Oh, I see. Because of the death penalty, there has to actually be a fact finding.
There has to, yeah.
And, yeah, right.
And I thought, well, how bizarre is that? And then I think in the case of both Timothy McVeigh and Ted Kaczynski, they had to go and listen to all this, well, at least in trial. Yeah, definitely in trial of Timothy McVeigh, you had all these survivors coming up and telling the jury about how upsetting it was, obviously. But my question would be, does that really help to prove somebody's guilt at trial? The fact that they've been so damaged, because it struck me as being a case of it's a horrible crime, therefore we this is the guy in front of us. It just struck me as being kind of odd, a little bit like Steve's case, where you get people on. Both in the Penny Bernstein case and in the Holbach case, it's all a case of, it's all a matter of, it was a horrible crime. It was, what was presented was this horrible crime. You've got somebody in front of you, and it just struck me as being very, very bizarre. And I just wonder, at trial, how much weight should be put on, dare I say it, the victims at the actual trial stage of it.
Yeah.
It just struck me as being a bit bizarre.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm kind of having it a wee bit, because it's like
it's all the scotch.
Well, you watch all this stuff. Like I said, this whole sort of legal system. It all just leaves you very, very, very disillusioned about how the hell we're gonna fix this all.
Right.
When you've
it's
got,
going to take time. It's going to take awareness. It's going to take a few things, which we're all working on right now. So we'll keep plugging away.
Okay. Well, I think that was kind of like all I had for now. I'm sure I've got a notepad. Honestly, I've got a notepad and I jot it all down.
We can do something tomorrow too, dude. I just got some work.
Yeah. So. Well, let's do a quick resume tomorrow then, and see how we're doing. And you get on and edit your video. Remind us again who have you got on your video?
Somebody very big in the innocence world, folks. Somebody very big, and obviously Mr. Steve Moore, retired FBI agent, Steve Moore. And it's going to be very, very interesting, folks. Look forward to seeing you guys there tomorrow. As soon as I upload it, you will know who it is. So I have to finish editing. So when I'm done editing, you guys who are just eager to find out who it is, as soon as I upload, you'll be able to find out because I will put the person's name in the title. So
it must be something big because I don't think for one moment that you put on your shirt and tie to come and talk to me.
Right. No, definitely not. No, I've been busy this morning, folks. I've been interviewing people. So
yeah. Hey, listen. Celebrity does what celebrity does.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to ask Hollywood Ripper about that. Anyway,
I'm on about Flockhart, Professor Flockhart in Harry Potter 2. But anyway, listen. You go and relax. Have a wee dram of Macallan and toast your Scottish friend.
Yeah.
Who's over here on Crunch Island at the moment. Did you recognize the scene, by the way? This is actually part of California.
I don't see any sundials there. Anyway,
this is definitely part of took me ages to get the light inside today. Anyway, listen. As I say, I think what one of the things we do want to try and do is keep the pressure on that Governor Parsons.
Yes.
Over the Walter Barton case.
And I do plan to do something about because I've been feeling a little bit remiss that I haven't done anything for Walter Barton in a couple of days because I've been so busy setting up today. But I very much do want to raise that again and keep that raised. I want that to be right back in his face again. So hopefully there'll be some folks out there helping me do that. Thank you.
Well, I what you she's all about me.
Yeah. Sharp dressed man, dude. Sharp dressed man. Go look it up. ZZ Top. Anyways,
one of my favorites.
All right. Okay. Folks, I gotta head out. I gotta get some editing done. Thank you for having me, Paul. It's been fun.
It's goodbye.
It's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye
from me.
Yeah, it's goodbye from me.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.